Hey up and welcome to another episode of the Rugby League Outsiders. My name's Craig.
And my name's Karl.
And in this episode, we're going to review Midlands Nines Rugby League Tournament and Music Festival.
Access all areas.
Yeah, we're 2 weeks out now. We've had time to kind of reflect and just think about some of the crazy stuff that went on. And we thought we'd just do an episode where we just talked about some of those things that you perhaps weren't aware of and talk about the festival from our point of view. So the first thing to mention, Karl, is what are your thoughts? Or, was it a successful festival?
Yeah, I think it's gone down as a success. What other people are telling us anyway, people who came, they really enjoyed it. It's taken me pretty much a good week to recover, and I know you've been incredibly ill.
Well,
you were ill on the run up to it,
right,
and you were really ill after it.
I remember we were sitting here saying, we're going to put this festival on, even if it kills us, right? And it nearly did.
Yeah, 100%.
I've still got, a bad throat, bad head, coughing up mucus. Do you know, I had this strange thing. I don't want to put anyone if they're eating the tea or all like that right now, but I had this strange thing where this like semi-bloody clear yellow fluid started dripping out my nose. Like, it weren't blood. it was like cerebral fluid just dropping out my nose this morning. My brother was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Mate, if I pass out right now, please tell the ambulance that I had yellow fluid coming out my nose." Yeah, it absolutely wiped me out.
Festival flu, that is.
It is.
Yeah, it was the most exhausting thing I have done in a long time. And I think certainly on the week running up to the festival, I went through every emotion that was humanly possible. Yeah, it was a good long stretch.
Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about the run up to it, the actual festival itself, and then, some of those other things that you won't be aware of. But I think we've got to start by, first of all, thanking everybody that did turn up. It was an incredible success on the pitch. And for those that stayed for the music festival afterwards, I mean, by God, it was cold. Thank you to those for making it an absolute epic party. We've got some great footage, and we've also got some great stories from that after party, which was freaking incredible. So, Karl, I suppose the best way to kick off is that run up to the festival where you were kind of pulling your hair out and just juggling. I mean, you were juggling everything, weren't you? From vendors to teams to supporters, all sorts. Talk me through it.
Yeah, I think first thing I'd say, if we were going to do it again, I'd do it differently.
Right.
There'd be people in charge of this, people in charge of that, and yeah, it was a massive juggling act. And you know what? I think we put the pressure on ourselves because we'd been building it up for near on 4 or 5 months. So when that week finally arrived, I was like, "Shit, it's here now. We've got to get it sorted." But yeah, if it could go wrong that week, it went wrong.
Yeah,
we had. So I remember one night, my phone didn't stop ringing. I was literally on the phone all day long.
This was about the Tuesday, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was about Tuesday, Wednesday-ish or something. And I had teams sort of ringing me up going, "I've only got 10 players and, I've only got 8 players." And it were crazy. There was, so there were a lot of teams in panic because, they'd invested into the tournament. They wanted to be there. And then there was rugby union tournaments cropping up here, there and everywhere. There were rugby union teams that had got through to cup semi-finals and things like that, so that were dragging players away. And it was a real crazy week running up to it.
And of course, every time like a team dropped out or lost a couple of players or something, you basically had to get back into the app that we used to run the tournament and actually like rejig the format of the whole thing.
I was restructuring the tournament. I think I restructured it 5 times that week, the run up to the week. And I think it from the outside looking in, it looks really easy to do. You just move it around, but we had a music festival on as well at the same time. So I was trying to juggle the waiting times. I didn't want people waiting around too long after the rugby finished, but we needed enough time to get the presentations in. We needed enough time to do this. And so, yeah, every time a team dropped out, I was changing the times, the minute, how long the half times were in between the games, how long of a gap we had between each game, how many pitches we were using. There was a lot went into that.
Yeah, and obviously the whole thing, we've got to mention our pod squad, as we called them, our group of volunteers.
Incredible.
They were just brilliant and made everything run so much smoother. We had a couple of meetings with them in the run-up, you know what I mean? And they were banding out some ideas, stuff that we hadn't thought about. One of the things that we had thought about and actually did bite us on the arse is, you know, someone said, well, have you thought about toilets? You know, have you got enough toilets for porta cabins for campers and stuff like that? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. The club's promised us, you know, toilets at night time. 2 days before, message, no toilets, I'm afraid. And we were, well, in fact, you didn't even know what a toilet tent was, did you?
No, that was a learning experience. Went and purchased one, didn't we? The day before the festival, I think it was.
Yeah, it was the day before. Drew, because we were shuttling stuff backwards and forwards all day the day before. And in one of these shuttles, we were like, we'd found a toilet tent, secondhand, in a secondhand shop in bloody wherever
somewhere
it was.
In Wolverhampton.
Yeah,
right,
so miles away. So we got that. I had a cassette toilet, you know, like, right, okay, at least we've got something. Like we said, we just want to make it work, you know. So
there was the rest of the goings on that went on that week as well. So it wasn't just the rejigging the tournament, was it? The food vendors literally dropped on us one by one by one.
Well, it started with the coffee. Didn't it?
Yeah.
And it was a little bit like when, you know, how do you boil a frog? Like, you know, you just turn up the temperature bit by bit. And we started off and we're like, right, coffee shop's out. Okay. Well, we want coffee there. Can we put a coffee shop together?
Yeah.
And you were like, well, I don't know. And I was like, look, you know, if we can find an half-decent coffee machine that will stand alone, doesn't have to be plumbed in, all that kind of thing. We've got a couple of baristas, you know, maybe we can put a coffee shop together. So we started this like campaign to put like a coffee stall together.
Coffee shop business.
Yeah, especially set up a freaking mobile coffee shop business within the space of 2 or 3 days. I think we did all right. I think the coffee machine wasn't the fastest, but, you know, we bought good coffee beans from a local supplier. I mean, we had so many cakes, didn't we?
Well, yeah, I think we'll get onto that bit in a minute. That's yeah. So yeah, the coffee company pulled out, and then we had food vendors that pulled out. So we were like, what do we do now? So we ended up doing the food as well.
Yeah, it was like, well, that's what I'm saying. So it was like, well, we've done a coffee shop, so could we do a burger stall? And it was like, well, I mean, what do you need for a burger stall? Well, I've got a chef. You know, we've got a couple of people that can help the chef. You know, it works really well because we can call it the Rugby League Outsiders.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The name was great.
Nailed that bit.
And so it was like, right, okay, let's do it. And the rugby club had promised us like a potato oven and a barbecue, like an industrial barbecue. So it was like, we'll just do our own burgers. So we went from like more or less just opening a gate, letting 2 vendors in, to putting this, you know, basically 2 mobile catering stands together within the space of 2 or 3 days. And that was a freaking stress, like, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was
stress.
Because we were incredibly organised. We for 6 months, we had the pod squad, we had all the volunteers, everything was organised, and then everything just started falling apart in that last week. And that's why I was saying that last couple of days was the most stressful couple of days of my life I can remember for bloody ages. Yeah, and
you know, they always say that things could always be worse. And obviously something else that happened in that run-up was we lost Scotland. You know, Scotland dropped out, which was really sad. And it just sort of drives home that actually there's more important stuff going on in life than struggling with a coffee shop and a burger van. Yeah,
so unfortunately, young lad Henry Grierson plays for Scotland, and his brother played for the same team as well. Tragically died I think it was that week, wasn't it?
It was early on.
Yeah, so Scotland
quite rightly
pulled out. Yeah, but we did get a chance to honour him, didn't we? At the event, we held a minute's applause, which I thought was really well received, and everybody was very respectful of that at the start of the tournament. I'm glad we did that.
Yeah, and it was just a little bit, you know, we did speak to the family, we spoke to the Scotland team, you know, and actually sent video clips of the minute of applause to them. So I think they were quite grateful from that. And it would have been right for them to come and try and play in the tournament, although, you know, we loved the idea of having an international team there. So anyway, you know.
Next time,
yeah.
Maybe, if we hold it again.
All right, so that's kind of the run-up. That kind of takes us to Friday morning. So Friday morning, what, go on?
Oh, yeah, was that Friday when we picked the cakes up?
No. We picked the cakes up on Thursday night. Do you remember? Because I said, right, we just need to nip in here and pick some. I've had somebody make some buns.
Make some buns.
Make some buns for
I'll tell you how it went. You rang me up and you went, mate, you should see how many fucking cakes we've got. I was like, what do you mean, how many cakes? So the was it the daytime we went and picked them up?
Yeah.
So these cakes were for MND charity, weren't they?
Yeah, it was like a charity cake sale. Yeah.
Yeah, which was a local
coffee shop. So I'll tell you the story. So Jane Darcy owns a local coffee shop in Bridgnorth. Very, very good friend of hers, a former university professor, has contracted MND.
Yep.
And it is just, as it does, it just rampages through the body. And it just, you know what I mean? People just turn into shadows of their self. Rob Burrett is a prime example. And she wanted to raise some money. So she said, look, Craig, with your business and all that, can you donate to the raffle? And I said, look, of course I can. But we can also do one better. We're going to have 300 or 400 people playing rugby at the weekend, knock up some buns, right?
Buns.
And we'll put them in our coffee shop and we'll sell them at £2 a piece or whatever. All the money goes to charity. It goes to your MNDA fund. And she was like, brilliant, right? And then there's a couple of things kept getting slipped out. She goes, right, well, I'm still doing the sticky toffee pudding. I was like, what? Yeah, so over to you, Karl. You carry on with the story.
So we rocked up with your transit van to pick these cakes up at Bridgnorth.
Yeah.
And I can't believe how many there were. They were piled this high, plastic containers. There must have been how many hundreds of cakes?
Well, there's 300 or 400 cakes, easy, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was a cake for every person attending, wasn't there? Pretty much.
Not when. Who was it? Spinky from
Spinky from the Quantums. He got stuck into them, didn't he?
So they weren't one for everybody as soon as he got stuck in.
Yeah, the haul of cakes was unbelievable. We were carrying him in, weren't we? Like going. But
I'm having this one. I'm having this one.
But there weren't just a lot of cakes. They were all massive, weren't they?
Like huge. The flapjack, way too big. It's done you a week, that. That had done you a week.
I ate some of that flapjack. It was a white chocolate and raspberry flapjack.
Yeah, took you all the way to Coventry to eat it.
Yeah. And then I was full for about 5 hours after.
Well, do you know what? Despite all that cake, and we didn't eat very well, did we, during the whole festival and all that?
No, not at all.
Despite all that, by the end of the weekend, I'd lost 3 kilos, Honestly, that's how much we'd either moved or, or failed to eat or, long days.
Yeah.
3 kilos. I was absolutely hooked.
I remember standing in a field on Sunday afternoon.
No, wait, do you fast forward into Sunday?
Yeah, I know, but...
Right, is it relevant?
It's relevant, yeah. And you said to me, you went, I'm more fucked now doing this festival than I have when I run an ultra marathon in the desert.
I know. It was fucking true. Yeah, so in fact, it's pretty much what 8 years to this week is like I ran across the Sahara Desert, but I was more fucked after that festival than when I'd done the bloody Marathon des Sables. So that took us obviously to the Friday morning, and the deal was I was going to pick you up at 9 o'clock.
Yep.
We were going to hightail it to work and then do our first load. In fact, we'd loaded it up the night before, hadn't we?
Yeah.
Some of it.
No.
Unloaded anything?
No, you picked me up. So the plan was you mapped it all out. This
time scale.
We're going to pick up at this time. We're going to drop off at that time. We're going to go back. We're going to pick up at this time. Then we go there. We're going to pick up there. We're going to pick up there. And then we're going to go back. And you had the whole day mapped out. And it were 3 journeys, wasn't it? I think
3
Coventry,
trips.
there and back.
Yeah.
With various different pickups in Wolverhampton, Bridgnorth.
Shit tents to pick up.
Dudley.
Cake to drop off.
Yeah, but it was all planned. So
clothing to pick up.
You picked me up... in the morning, about 8 o'clock, something like that. And we started in it. We're all going quite well. We
was ahead of time.
Yeah, we did the first load, and we was like in the van, high-fiving, going, we're on track here. And then about 40 minutes later, we hit the first load of traffic.
Oh, God, yeah.
And it started going downhill from there on, pretty much, didn't it? Yeah,
yeah, it did. And then we had this constant, deadline coming, didn't it? Stage arriving, 6 o'clock. You know what I mean? So it was like, right, I need to get as much done as we can because the stage arrives at 6 o'clock. And because we're fucking skinflints, we had to do all this on a shoestring. We were like, well, don't worry about the stage crew. We'll build it for you. Right. So this is happening at 6 o'clock.
Worst idea I've ever had in my life.
Fucking hell, mate. That bloody stage, everything, it must have been lead lined. They must have been the stage from Chernobyl, because why else would it be so freaking heavy? You know, it was just mental.
Yeah, we skipped a bit there. So yeah, we did the backwards and forwards, didn't we? We only managed 2 trips, didn't we, that day?
Yeah.
We were supposed to do 3.
Well, that's
we
why...
had an Airbnb to book into as well. That's another story.
Yeah.
Yeah, so all in all, we ran massively behind schedule on that Friday, which all culminated in Friday evening and the stage building.
Well, in that Friday, tents had gone up. Bell tents had gone up. We'd sectioned parts off. We'd built the coffee stall. The Outsiders was kind of set up, although the oven and the barbecue wasn't there. What else have we done? Uniform, balloon arch in the reception. You know, there was just a ton of stuff done.
I forgot to mention as well, a day or so before we picked up the signage that Rob Davis created for us.
Yeah,
and I've got to say on camera, Rob, thank you for that. You know, he really grafted for us, creating them signs, and you know, it really sorted us out at a good price as well. So yeah, I'm eternally grateful for him sorting that. And the signage did look, it looked unbelievable. Yeah, it was the difference between it being
shit.
Yeah. I was trying to come up with a better way of putting it, but it made it look the business, didn't it?
It made it look absolutely pro and established. You know what I mean? And you know, we like strong branding. We've got strong branding colours. You know, we try and have it running through everything that we do. You know, and the signs were just tip top. They were brilliant. I picked them up and I was like, fucking hell, if we don't make it like we'd use in festivals, we can scrap these and make a ton of money, because they were that freaking heavy. So, so all that were going in, signs going up. And then, well, there's a slight delay on the stage, weren't there?
Yeah, we were late. He were ringing me up going, how do I get here? And I was like, I don't know, I'm not from Coventry.
Yeah.
He were down the road or something. I don't know. He ended up being about an hour late, didn't he?
Yeah.
We'd assembled the volunteers on the Friday to start assembling the stage, and the first bit went up, didn't it? I remember the dome going up. You stood there with your camera, and that was the first sort of minute. I sort of went, well, I'm knackered, and I saw it go up. I was like, but I can see the vision now. I can see what we've been building all this time.
I think there were a few people saw the dome go up and went, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. You know, because I think at the first they were just like, well, it's just a rugby tournament. You know what I mean? Kick a ball around the field. Well, yeah. I don't think people have really made the connection with like how much we'd put into the actual music festival part.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a full professional stage from Chernobyl and full lighting setup, smoke machines,
sound
big
engineer,
dome over the top, professional sound engineer, you know, and 3 brilliant bands. You know, it would really kind of put some effort into the
and financially as well. Financially invested into that side of it, haven't we?
Yeah. And when people saw the dome, I think that was the first time when people went, I get it now. I see what this is, because I think not even the rugby club kind of really understood what we was trying to achieve. But when that dome went up, all of a sudden the chairman of the rugby club was taking pictures, sharing it. You know, he was obviously putting out to his players saying, "You've got to get here tomorrow. It's going to, if the stage is anything to go by, it's going to be a great night."
But that was only half the stage, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was only half the stage.
That went up so quick. Bit went really easy. It was like, we're smashing this. We'll have this stage built in no time. Then we started lugging the metal off the Arctic.
Yeah, no, there is that, but there was also, right, and this is like a little insight into your brain here. So you wanted this stage in this certain place because that would have been epic, right?
Yeah.
And the problem is, it was like a 12-meter stage in a 10-meter area. So you know, we basically had to shoehorn it into this area because you were budging. I was like, mate, just put it at the back. And he was like, no, it's going here. It's going here. It's got to go here. Otherwise we're shit.
It had to go there because we'd have lost the connection between the crowd.
Yeah, no, I get that.
And the festival. So yeah, I was adamant it had to go there.
Yeah, but even the guy, I mean...
And I always knew it were a tight fit.
Fucking hell, I know, tight fit. Those 2 meters too big. Like 2 meters is massive. Interesting thing about the story, that the sound engineer, the guy who runs the stage, I got chatting to him, ex-military guy. Turns out he used to bloody fly spy planes in the RAF. And it was just like, this is awesome. You know what I mean? What a story. We've got like this guy come to do our stage, and he was a pilot, you know, and flying epic planes in the... You know,
Steve, the sound guy.
Steve, awesome.
Yeah,
he was
brilliant. Music First is his company. If you ever need a stage, festival, lighting,
maybe for a barbecue or a bar mitzvah,
lock, stock, the lot, he's got it.
Well, no, and
he's got a bigger stage now.
Well, 2 days afterwards, he sent us pictures, didn't he, of the new stage. He's like, this is next year. We're like, where the hell are we going to put that on page 3? Yeah,
next year. I was still laying down in a coma at that point. I don't even want to think about next year.
Obviously, before, I know we're dancing around a little bit, but there's obviously so much to review. We went and moved into the Airbnb, didn't we?
Oh, yeah.
And I'll tell you the story with the Airbnb. So I got, as they do in Airbnb, the landlords and that, they usually want to talk to you, don't they? To feel you out, make sure you're not bloody idiot and all this. Anyway, they phoned up. Right, Craig, we've set up beds like this and blah, blah, blah. And I was giving it the big one, saying, look, don't worry about it. We'll take care of this house. Don't you worry about it. We're both professionals. You know, I work in hospitality and leisure. I know what it's like. Don't you worry. It's in safe hands. The guy started laughing, right? He just started laughing. And I was like, oh, what a strange response that is. Then we fucking arrived. How would you describe it?
Fucking hell did we arrive. Well, first thing I noticed was like, this house is fucking hot.
It was like you could breed iguanas in there. Honestly.
It was absolutely boiling. It was like totally tropical. And then I realised why the heat was on, because there was mould up every single wall.
That's perfect when you've got a bad chest. But we forgot to mention that we were all ill before in the run-up to the...
Yeah, we were ill on the run-up, as well.
Anyway, so we got into the Airbnb.
It wasn't as the picture showed it was.
Well, not this decade anyway. Right, so then we got the stage up. What time did this kind of get wrapped up?
Well, I left about... It was going... I remember being in Domino's Pizza at about 1 o'clock in the morning. We were a hungry family, all knackered.
Yeah.
Even though they'd only been sat in pub drinking while we lugged...
blowing up balloons, aren't they?
Yeah, and lugged the stage about. Yeah, so it were early hours of the morning. I was definitely in Domino's Pizza at 1 o'clock. And usually Domino's Pizza's really quick. But on this occasion, it took absolutely ages. Yeah, so it were early hours before we got back to the Airbnb. You'd checked out by this point.
I'd
gone somewhere else.
I'd gone somewhere else. Well, for my wife, Paul, who weren't staying there. Right, so we went to bed.
Yeah. Call it 2 o'clock in the morning. It had to be something like that.
Right, 4 o'clock in the morning. No, I think it was 4:30.
Yeah, my phone goes beep, beep, beep.
I sent you a message saying, mate, I'm up. Yeah. Let me know as soon as you're awake.
I replied instantly.
Obviously weren't sleeping either way.
I've not had any sleep, but let's go.
Yeah.
Up we were. 5 minutes later, you were outside the door with the van again, and
we did our final load, didn't we? Yeah. And that was tight. Like we had all the post protectors, the bloody Challenge Cup. You know, there had all this stuff.
Yeah, we didn't have the Challenge Cup we had there at that point, did we?
No, we didn't, and we didn't want to leave it there for security and all that. And you know, so we had to pile all that into the van, plus anything else that was left over. We didn't even take some stuff. I can't remember.
We couldn't get it all in. We had the Outsiders sign to get in.
Yeah, there were a ton of stuff we just couldn't get in.
There were a load of stuff that just never made it. Yeah,
so early in the morning we started this trip across,
and that were another 3-stop. As well, wasn't it? We had my house to go to pick up, I don't know, stash and stuff like that. And
it was all the uniforms and stash and all that.
Yeah, lanyards and all that. And then we had your gym to go to pick up the Challenge Cup. Then we had, your business to go to, pick up some more stuff from there. So yeah, we're a 3-stop trip, and we were back down the motorway as fast as we could.
But we still got there bang on time. You know, we were still high-fiving. Look, we're ahead of schedule. I dropped you off. I don't know if you remember this, but I dropped you off in the Challenge Cup and all that at the front door. I then drove off to take the van back down to the bottom where the pitches were and the outsiders and all that. As I was doing that, I suddenly become aware of like cars pulling up in the car park and what was clearly players sat in the cars. And I was like, shit. People are arriving. It was like 8 o'clock, so 2 hours before they were due to arrive. And I tried shouting you. You was chatting to someone, you know, I think it was like Tony or Alex. I think he was chatting to Alex. And I was like, Karl, because I wanted to warn you that people was arriving. Yeah. And I was like, I can't fucking hear me. Right, well, I'll get this stuff dropped off and we'll take it from there. And then from that point onwards, it just didn't stop, did it?
No, we were just constantly working, weren't we? I mean, we were getting the front of desk set up, the trophy plinth set up, the Challenge Cup set up, the gazebos set up. Kelly was putting the bunting out all over, which that was another story in itself. That took her, how long did it take her to make that bloody bunting?
Well, you know,
it seemed to go on forever, but she wasn't making it forever.
Everyone that's married will appreciate this. So Karl gave his wife the job of making bunting, right? Handcrafting,
right.
Stitching, freaking bunting. 300 metres of it.
That's what I said to her. I said, no, because her initial job, she said she was meant to be in charge of the stash. I said, you're in charge of the shop.
Right.
That's all you've got to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got to make sure it gets to the embroiderers, decide what T-shirts we're having, bang, bang, bang. You're in charge of that. Weeks and weeks and weeks went by, and we were getting teams in, and everything's getting sorted. I'm like, how's the shop coming along? I've got uni work. I've got to go to work. I was like, no, this is the most important thing in the world at the minute.
This is a priority.
So I sacked her from that. I was like, right, you're off the team. I'm in charge of the shop.
How did that go down?
She wasn't that bothered, to be fair.
No. Was she intentionally being shit to get sacked?
No, I do think she were busy, to be fair. So, but
no, hey, don't let that get in the way of a good story.
Yeah. So yes, she got sacked from doing the shop, and then we was looking at bunting, what we know, various ways we were going to dress the venue, and it's like, right, we need bunting,
like branded bunting, so purple and pink.
Yeah, and so I found a load of bunting online, and it cost an absolute fortune, even from flipping China. And I was like, well, it'll probably turn up and it'll be about that big. And so I said, can you do the bunting? He's like, yeah, I've got a sewing machine. I can do the bunting. I was like, right, 300 metres of it. I said, I want it going all the way around the first pitch.
Did you price up 300 metres of bunting?
No, but I priced up a few metres and it weren't cheap.
No, it's like 25 quid for like 3 metres or something like that. So what's that? 2.5 grand the bunting or something. I don't know. I don't know what the maths is like.
So that she was set with the task of doing the bunting, and in true style of my wife, weeks went by and I was like, "Have you started it yet?" No. When are you going to do it? I need it doing this or that. And we're constantly on it. And she's like, "Oh, don't worry, it'll be done." I was like, "You haven't even bought any material yet." She went, "Well, you go buy material then." Right? So I went out and bought the material in Rugby League Outsiders colours. I went to an Indian sari shop and bought the material, cheap as chips. Then we started cutting the bunting, and she went, "This material's crap." She says, "It's too thin, I can't work with this." I was like, "Tough." Yeah. I said, you were in charge of getting the bunting. I said, "You didn't get it, so I had to do it." Anyway, so she started hand making this bunting, and it took forever. Absolutely. The effort that went into it was, it was.
She was there for days.
Yeah, days and days. And
you kept sending me updates. It was just still sat there.
Constantly getting more and more annoyed with me as each reel went through. Constantly telling me, "This material is shit. Why did you buy this material? It's too thin." Yeah, so we had the bunting to put up on all around the venue, which I got to say, once it looked brilliant, and we can use it again. Yeah, if we ever decided to put ourselves through this again.
That's the question for the end, isn't it?
The conclusion, yeah.
Yeah, then we had other stuff going wrong, like the rugby club had promised us like an oven to cook we're doing like pulled pork and chili and all that kind of stuff. But the other one was blocked in by the grass cutter. They promised us a barbecue. We got the barbecue, but the hose had been cut off. There was no gas tin. So people were going off to buy a gas cannon. You go and try and buy a gas cannon on a Saturday morning, you know what I mean? It's just... And a hose to fit to the barbecue. I think they ended up buying a barbecue. Our pod squad went out and just bought a gas barbecue in order to make it happen. And it was stuff like that it was epic from the pod squad. Like I think everybody on the pod squad just went over and above, and it was recognised by people at the festival. They were all saying to us, that team have been brilliant, you know. So they definitely need like a massive pat on the back. And we're going to have a barbecue for him at the weekend. We're going to have pulled pork.
We've got a barbecue to use, haven't we? So, you know what I mean?
just to treat him with a freaking barbecue.
I didn't even mention the pitch.
Oh, what?
Well, it wasn't marked out.
Oh, yeah, they weren't marked out. So you spent about 20 minutes arguing with the bloody groundsman, didn't you?
On a tractor, yeah. So we ended up using a pitch that was never going to be used, but you know, anyway, we got through all that.
Right, so we're knocking on a bit now. So let's get into actually the rugby.
It sounds like a disaster, doesn't it? But it wasn't. It was just stuff we had to get.
No, it was one of those things where it was like a duck on water, where on the surface it looks so graceful and just looks like it's just like swimming along, but under the water it's paddling like fuck. You know what I mean? And that was us. I mean, people were sort of saying, are you two okay? Because we were just grey. You know what I mean? We had no life in us. I couldn't even swallow properly. You know, people were buying me a drink and I was like having a sip and holding it at the back of my throat to try and cool my throat down because my throat was that bad. You know, I had a banging headache. We were just absolutely done in.
I've seen the photographs and I look an absolute state on them. I look like a shell of myself. And I've had people speak to me after the event saying, "Oh, well, I caught up with you at the Nines." I was like, I don't even remember speaking to you. Loads of people. I don't know. I think my brain was always engaged in something else that was happening, and I never really had a chance to relax.
So I've got a question. Was there a time that you remember where you looked, you know, or something was going on and you just thought, this is brilliant?
Yeah, when we got all the teams in.
Yeah.
And we did the first address on that stage, and everyone started coming towards the stage. I was like, "Fucking hell, we've managed to build this thing. We've actually got it there." Yeah, that was a bit of definitely a moment where I sort of, there were two. Once when the stage went up, that was the first time I was like, right, this is what we visioned it to be. That was point one. At the end, the second one was when everybody was crowding around, and they weren't just stood there blank. I think James addressed the crowd and said, let's have a cheer from everybody. And they were properly invested in it.
Yeah.
The people had come for a great day out and the teams made it, didn't they? And I was thrilled by that. The people were there to have a good time. Yeah,
there were loads of little signs that people had proper bought into it, like Telford Raiders had dedicated Nines T-shirts.
Yeah.
You know, later on other people had brought like fancy dress. You know what I mean? They were just, people had booked hotels nearby. You know, there's no greater signal that they're serious about this than booking hotels. My moments were the dome going up.
Yeah.
The dome went up and I was like, holy shit, what the fuck have we done? And then the next one was we put together like a jingle, hadn't we?
Oh,
and at the end of the jingle, at the end of the jingle, it said something like, "Let the music play, let the games begin." And and I just got this fucking that spine.
We was playing it in the van on the way there, weren't we?
We had to, mate, to keep us going.
Let's just get there.
Yeah. And then that point, you know, like you said, when everybody was in front of us, we did the minutes applause. I thought, right, nothing we do now will, you know what I mean? We're here.
Yeah.
Like all the fucking about has been done. We're here. Let's play rugby. The tournament, you know, because of what you've done with the app, that kind of ran itself. The pod squad were fantastic. The pitch managers are great. The team captains really, you know, got a grip. Ryan and the referees were just awesome all day. And the rugby was an absolute dream, and there was some good skill on display. But there was also lots of people that had clearly never played before, you know.
Yeah.
And people were enjoying it. Mate, it was cold.
Oh my God, it was cold.
Fucking freezing. But you know, people were still out there, and as we was approaching the finals, you know, people were they're serious about these finals, like.
Yeah, and do you know the other thing with the rugby, which I never even thought about? When I was on the gate on the desks on the front, and like it was people coming up to me and going, "Oh, can I have 2 tickets?" I was like, "Oh, you coming for watch music and that later?" And there's like, "No, I've come to watch rugby." I was like, "Oh, you know, which team you with?" I was like, "None. I'm just come for a day out to watch the rugby." And I was like, "Do you usually watch rugby league?" He's like, "No." And I thought, and we had quite a few of them just walking, and I thought that was amazing that people.
Well, that's why we put this thing on.
Yeah, we're coming to watch rugby league. We'd never experienced it before, and we're coming to an event that we'd created. Yeah, that was amazing, really.
Yeah, so yeah, I'd never expected any kind of walk-ins like that, but you know, fundamentally, we're all about trying to grow the game of rugby league, and if people can come and look at that, and I'm pretty sure they saw some epic matches and some epic competitions, lots of great tries. I've got to give a little nod to Molly Redbanks, I think it is, for the RAF, who basically, it was like first game, kicked off at 11 o'clock, whistle blew, kicked off, poof, ball straight into the hands of Molly. She basically danced through a load of players, scored a try within seconds.
Yeah.
First try of the afternoon, from what I can gather. So little nod. That's the first try ever in the Midlands Nines.
Yes, it was. Yeah, that was the first try. And there was loads of little stories with the rugby. So you had Birmingham Bulldogs players came down to help Leamington, who were a bit short on them. So that was great teamwork. There was the Midlands Hurricanes women were playing their first ever game. They'd never played a game of rugby before. This was their first ever match.
And got to the final. And
to put it in context, they played the RAF in the first game and got pretty walloped, didn't they? I think they were miles off the score. I'm not sure they actually scored, or they didn't score many in that first game. Yeah, lost by quite a lot. But by the final, them two teams played each other again, and I think it was 12 points to 10.
Yeah.
There was nothing in that game. So yeah, that was a good story. You had Sherwood had fully invested in it. They had 2 teams at the event. I've got to say, it's Sherwood, they really threw everything at it, really. Hotels, fancy dress, their lads properly bought into it. Loughborough were brilliant. I mean, they had 3 teams there. It was like a mini Loughborough student night out, wasn't it? Yeah. They were brilliant. And just getting to see these teams who are going to be facing off against each other in the Midlands leagues this year, so like your Oxfords, your Leamingtons and Telford, and getting a look at them, seeing how they're going to play against each other. Throw in there with like a university team who they've never played before. Yeah. And just watching Nines rugby, because it's not something we very rarely see, and I love it. I think it's a really exciting form of the game, and we should have more of it, really.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, the difference, like obviously Sherwood come up fully kitted out, all the branded clothing, and then you had the Quantums rock up, who they had like 2 lads that they self-proclaimed looked like they'd been
shoplifted. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, it was a real mix of teams, wasn't it? But ultimately, everybody got on, didn't they? And it did have that party vibe about it. If only we'd have had the bloody sunshine.
Oh, the weather would have made a massive difference. But, I mean, it did get spicy on the pitch, though.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the refs controlled it incredibly well, but it was the right level. You know what I mean? Nobody was going to take a backward step, and you know, nobody was going to be like pushed around and all that kind of thing. And that's where it came from. It wasn't anything like, you know.
No, that was the other thing as well that I didn't really think about on the run up to the festival. How much people actually wanted to win it.
Yeah,
we had invested in decent medals. We had invested in some decent trophies that looked different, a bit out of the box, and I almost forgot about all that. But I think when teams turned up and they started pulling along that motorway and they could see the stage and they could see the trophy on the plinth, I think people really wanted to win it. And like I say, it was ultra competitive, I thought.
Right, let's switch gears then to the music festival. Oh, in fact, we've got to mention the finalists, and the winners. So,
yeah, so the women's final would be played between the RAF and the Hurricanes. We had to do a bit of moving around, didn't we? That final was supposed to be second, but we moved it first because some of the Hurricanes ladies had to get off with childcare and stuff like that. Yeah, what a great game that was.
Epic game.
Incredible game. And you didn't know who was going to come out on top. There was somebody knocked out mid-game. It was just really tight, backwards and forwards game. I think it finished 12 points to 10, that one. Yeah, incredible game.
RAF the winners.
Yeah, RAF, the win in that one. Game after that was so this was the next story of the day. You had Sherwood v Loughborough in the social final and Sherwood v Loughborough in the main men's final. Testament to both teams for bringing so many players, really. Loughborough came out on top of that one, I think, wasn't comfortable. I think there was a couple of tries in it. They took the social trophy and then on to the men's final, which was equally as epic.
Yeah, there was some big hits, some great skill, hard fought. Sherwood just a little bit too strong, and I think he just overpowered Loughborough and won. Yeah, epically.
Do you know I had a comment before the finals? Before we're about to get the finals going, and I can't remember if it were a coach or a player, and he came up to me, seeing as Sherwood and Loughborough have both made it to the final in both finals, how about we just play 13 aside? I was like, we can't do that. I said, we've got team sheets and your teams are sorted, and it's a nines festival. But they were just all in at that point. It was like, we just want to win, we just want to turn them over. It was great that we had 3 different winners on the day. So we had RAF, we had an armed forces side, we had a university side win the social tournament, and we had a Midlands team win the men's tournament. So great way to finish.
Yeah, and great shout out, big shout out to the referees and the match officials for those finals. They did a cracking job, kept the games flowing, really commanded it well, made it really enjoyable to watch. So then from there, straight into the presentations. And I think, this is another one of those moments where I was like, fucking hell, we're here, these trophies that we've kind of, we had imported from wherever, out of Mongolia or somewhere, it cost us a freaking fortune in import tax, have gone. They've gone off to their keepers for a year.
Yeah.
And that was a moment when I thought, I think we've done all right, and we did the big presentations, lifting the trophies, and people were excited. They were running off. I remember, they were all winning games. They were running off to get a Midlands Nines board to put in front of them to have their pictures taken. And I just thought, you wouldn't do that if it was a shit tournament, or no. You know what I mean, or you weren't that bothered. To top off, it was absolutely Baltic. For them to be doing all that, I just thought these guys have enjoyed it, and that's what matters.
Yeah, it was incredibly cold, wasn't it?
Fucking freezing.
I mean, we really didn't land lucky with the weather. But yeah, like you said, the teams were fully invested and they wanted to win. And I think some of the teams that didn't win took themselves off home early because I think they were quite disappointed, really.
Yeah, and freezing.
Yeah, and freezing.
Right, so then we had this little transition towards the music festival. We were let down. Like I said, we had a pizza vendor, an ice cream van, believe it or not, a few other bits and bobs, and let us down last minute. So we didn't have food there. That's probably the biggest downside of the day. People get into the evening and just wanted to eat. And we didn't have a provision for them. But anyway, moving on, lessons learned. Into the music.
Yeah, so initially a little bit. So the Stiffmeisters were on first, weren't they? And they just brought a load of energy. The only thing was we had a lot of teams getting changed at that point.
Yeah.
People were bloody cold and they just wanted to get inside. But the hardcore group among them, once the band came on, they were out there. I really enjoyed the music. I thought Stiffmeisters were brilliant. To be honest with
people
you,
were
mate.
dancing and rocking out. It was just real good, feel good, American punk music that just got everybody going. From there to Alexander Norris.
Yeah, so then we had a bit of downtime where people went back in again to get warm, and then Alexander Norris, who's local solo artist. I don't know what clothing he turned up in because he's from Coventry and surely he could see that it was absolutely freezing, but he turned up in a pair of shorts, a vest and a Hawaiian shirt.
Rock and roll, man.
Yeah. But he brought a crowd of him as well. There were people came just to watch him on stage. And I think it did mean quite a bit to him, to be honest.
It meant a hell of a lot to him, and it meant a hell of a lot to his, what I assume is his partner, but also his brother. They're not the same person, by the way. But, they were both there, and they were saying, guys, thanks everybody who's backing him and they're here in the cold, you know what I mean? And he blasts out some belting songs. Yeah. He's a real talent, like.
Yeah, and I'm sort of pleased to say on the back of some of the footage that we recorded, we're actually producing a music video for him, aren't we? So I think that was nice that we managed to get some decent footage. So I'm a fan of his anyway. I like his music, and I really enjoyed his performance. And like I say, if just we'd have had a bit of sunshine, that'd have been absolutely epic.
Yeah, he was Baltic, wasn't he? So that's
yeah.
He kept going, consummate professional there. People had a little break back inside, warmed up. There's some fun, silly games going on. I remember looking over and there was some guy in trunks, down in a yard of ale, and then licking beer off the floor.
He got absolutely crazy inside, didn't it?
Yeah, there were people downing pints, silly outfits, cowboy hats.
I saw somebody come running. It was the guy who did the flip in Sean, who did the flip in the clubhouse. Yeah. I saw him come running down and flipped over the barriers, the sponsor board barriers, it just got crazy. Yeah. The Sherwood lads all went away and then came back in the fancy dress, and they were just
What do you want to say, Kelly? Kelly said, "Oh, it's the Wenger boys." I thought that was brilliant. But there were sprint races going on in the pitch black on the rugby pitch. It was just real fucking.
Yeah, it was by this point as well. It was dark, wasn't it? The lights were all on the stage. I've got to give a shout out to a few different groups actually who really made the evening. So the Loughborough students were just ace, all day, fully bought into it.
A big group as well.
Yeah, so. and on the evening, they were just all for it, weren't they?
But it was nice to see the Loughborough guys like that and girls. But the guys, we did have a little bit of a connection because we went to their game against Leeds Beckett.
Yes,
we visited Loughborough, so it was good to see them kind of out of their habitat, if you like, you know what I mean, in a big boys rugby club, and just absolutely hammering the booze.
Yeah, they loved it, didn't they? And they put some money over that bar as well, undoubtedly. The Leamington ladies were brilliant. They were all there in shit shirt night. I think the coach won that. He had the shitty shirt. I think it was his own shirt. He didn't go out and buy it especially, I'm pretty sure. They were great. Sherwood, like I've already mentioned, were brilliant. The RAF ladies were there mixing it with the Leamington ladies. Yeah, it was just the evening was just a proper party vibe. I love the evening. And then the band came on.
Yeah, and the band. Well, the band started.
I'd seen them, hadn't I, right? Yeah. So you tell me what your impression was when they came on.
Right, so first of all, we was all in the clubhouse getting warm, and it was a bit of a rally cry saying, right, guys, the Mardy Bums are coming on now. They ain't starting until everybody's outside, right? So we started getting outside. And then they started doing this, when, in Jurassic Park, and the T-Rex is coming, it's like, boom.
Yeah. They played...
Boom, 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 like this. So they played this song, and it just got everybody, and everybody was like, yes,
they played Do You Want to Know? And it just starts with that riff, and people were still coming down the steps, and they were like, and all of a sudden I was like, oh, this sounds ace.
This is it.
And they didn't just walk then, they started running towards the stage.
Yeah, they just wanted to dance and be in front of that stage.
And that were it then. That first song went off, and it was just unbelievable.
It was epic, yeah. And people didn't stop dancing, singing, cheering. They had glow sticks in the hair, in the Crocs, bloody,
Kelly bought them glow sticks, I forgot about that.
Did she?
Yeah.
Well, how did she have time for that when she was doing the bunting?
One thing she managed to do on the side, yeah.
And they just played some absolute bangers, and I was just I was wiped out by this time. I was just trying to get some video footage. Like you was there, you had your hoodie top up, trying to have a pint, and you know what I mean, just sitting.
Mate, I was fully in the mosh pit though.
Yeah, I know.
I was loving it. I absolutely. They were brilliant.
They were epic, and we were saying that we charged £10 entry for this for this festival, right? Now, just to go and watch the Mardy Bums alone in a pub is 25 quid, right? 10 quid is just, it was just stupid. Stupid, you know, and but I don't think people understood the quality that they were going to bang out. I mean, they were just epic.
They were another level, weren't they?
Yeah, but they could entertain. You know, it wasn't just the songs that they played. It was like the transitioning in between the different songs, getting the crowd going. He knows the right time to sort of speak to the crowd. All those little things as a sort of almost like a professional act. Yeah, that you get with them, and they were incredible. When the sun goes down was unbelievable when that went off, and the whole crowd were just singing. There were people up on shoulders, and they were
balloons getting thrown about, disco balls getting thrown about, and all sorts.
Where did them disco balls come from?
Kelly got them as well.
Fucking hell, she just would have gone nuts in a pound shop before she really arrived.
Yeah.
Well, do you know, interestingly, because your little one was kicking around, there was a few kids kicking around, and there was all sorts of fun and games going on, but it was still a bit of a family feel, you know. It was just no bother, you know. It was just a great night.
Proper party crowd, I think, and you know, they didn't do rugby league a disservice at all. I think they came away as just being a brilliant group of people from all over the country, pretty much. We just had a great party.
So we're gonna wrap this up in a second. So obviously, once the Mardy Bums had finished, and we started throwing any stash we had left, we just started throwing into the crowd, and you know, just trying a big finish. You know what I mean? Throwing out RFL sunglasses and all that, and it was just great for a big finish. And I remember you got on a mic, you know, and you were like, "Fuck yeah, fuck yeah." I won't say what you can share what you say, but I won't.
Do you know what? I can't fully remember what I said.
I know.
There were a bit of emotion there.
I know what you said.
I basically said something like, if anybody fucking doubted us or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I stand by what I said. We did have some pressure on our shoulders. And there were people that didn't want it to work.
There were people waiting for it to fail. Mardy Bums packed up, you know what I mean? It started bucketing down, didn't it? Everyone moved inside, you know, and there were just two drowned rats, a.k.a. Craig and Karl, in the fucking rain, waiting for the band to pack all the stuff up so we could start stripping this stage down. Because this sounded like a great idea 6 months ago when we booked the stage. You know, we were both absolutely done. Like, my throat was just beyond it now. You know, I was barely holding my eyes open. We were just sat in the front of my van, just like, fucking hell, what do you think?
Yeah.
I don't know. Are you doing it again? I don't know. You know what I mean? Just too much to process. You know, and all this was kind of going on, waiting for the stage. And then we started stripping the stage. It was pissing down. You know, it was dangerous. Like this big metal truss above my head. And I was like, one slip and I'm probably dead.
Yeah.
You know, if that hits me on the head,
no
I'm
hard hats
dead.
there.
No hard hats, no steel toe cap shoes. But we worked hard to get the stage down. Eventually, I was like, Karl, I'm done.
Yeah.
And you were like, mate, just go.
You was a broken man at that point.
You was like, just go, get some sleep. So we've made this agreement that you'd stay and do the stage. I would be back early doors to work on the tents and everything with the pod squad. And so I went.
That carried on. It was early hours again. By the time that stage was sort of being dismantled.
I think I got home like 12:30. I got back to bed about 12:30.
Yeah, and I think I did another hour or so after that. And then it got so bad, did the rain, that the guy, he just basically went, no, that's it. It's got to be done. Oh, and the other pressure that we had on his shoulders as well is the rugby club were going, our team's in a final tomorrow at this ground that's been hosted by the RFU. All this has got to be gone by 9 o'clock in the morning. Are you for real?
Yeah. We were like, we'll try our best, but I don't know if that's going to happen.
So they went home again. The Steve slept in the back of his lorry, and then we were back at it again at sort of 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, and carried on. You did a run back to Bridge North, didn't you? With
took stuff back.
A load more stuff that we had to take back. I carried on, and then you went missing for a bit.
Yeah, well, you phoned me up, didn't you? And said that when you're going to back, and I went, I've had to stop. I've had to stop and have a sleep. You know, I literally had I think I had 20 minutes. But you know when you fall asleep, right, and you wake yourself up snoring, right? I don't often snore, but you know them visceral, like a fucking lion in the wild. I was like, I woke myself up outside Starbucks at Corley Services, and I was like, the fuck, and that was just, indication of how knackered I was. And you were like, listen, make sure you have some rest. And by that time, I was like, oh, must have been asleep for 20 minutes. So got back on the road and then got to you, and the roles had reversed. Where I was done that night, you was
I were absolutely
finished.
Spent by that point.
You weren't even making sense.
No,
your decisions. I was like, what about this? And you were like that. Nah, just drag it. Just leave it in the mud. Took it on the skip, I don't care. It was just crazy.
Yeah. So after the stage is gone, we still had all the tents to
collapse,
get rid of,
and dry out.
Yeah,
we're all piss wet.
We'd been left a few tents that we weren't expecting,
and a few outfits, and
and bits and bobs. Yeah, food to pick up, and so that was a minute I was completely broken by that point. We stood in a wet field.
It's like a bog.
Pissing down in rain, freezing, no sleep for 2 days.
Lugging around wet canvas tents.
Yeah, that weighed an absolute bloody ton. But we made it and we got there.
We did make it. And then what finished it, so obviously they were backwards and forwards, dropping stuff off. Finally got the Challenge Cup back. By the way, when that was picked up, they didn't check it, They didn't look inside. I don't even know if it's there. I don't know if they've checked it. I'm sure that they have.
Do you know next time they're going to open it, don't you?
When?
Wembley.
Oh, well, there we go.
So if there's just a fucking Midlands Nines T-shirt sat in the middle of that box, it's not to do with us.
Yeah, a brick and a T-shirt with Loughborough was here on there. And then what finished it off, so the toilets needed emptying, right? the fucking cassette toilet from the toilet tent that we'd thrown up because we had no toilets. And which I don't mind. Every summer I'm cleaning out the glamping. We run glamping at work, and we just clean them out. It's no biggie. And but they were blocked. This toilet was blocked. I couldn't get all the bloody piss and shit out of it. I was like, what the fuck's going on anyway? So I got the old duty stick to try and clear the blockage. Just thinking it was an unreasonably large turd or something like that. It was a massive pair of knickers, right? They're fucking knickers. It was like someone had put a bell tent down the toilet. They were fucking huge. I don't know. I don't even remember seeing anyone that big to have, at the tournament, to have them that size knickers on. So I don't know where these things come from.
Somebody watching this going,
oh my God, that's so...
knowing that that's their knickers.
Well, the thing is, though, what happens is you start conjuring up all these stories, don't you? Like how was that? How has this parachute ended up inside the toilet, And well, it's obviously out, someone's obviously pooed themselves, haven't they?
Rather you than me doing that.
So anyway, that kind of finished it off. And I remember telling you, and I was just laughing, saying, you've had a good festival when your toilet's blocked with the fucking massive pair of knickers. Right, Karl. Yeah. So obviously, we've had a couple of weeks to process it. We're getting back on our feet health-wise. Would you do it again? Are you doing it again? What we're saying?
I don't even want to answer. Do you know what? People really enjoyed it. So, they loved it. And all the calls I've had, and I have had loads of calls, loads of messages, people saying, make sure you do it again. Want to come back next year, want to defend his title, etc., etc. I'll be honest, it nearly killed me. So I don't know is the answer.
I think we learned a lot, didn't we?
Yeah, of course. I mean, if we were doing it again, there'd be so much we'd do different, and there'd be there would be loads we'd do differently, wouldn't there?
Yeah, I think we'd take a bit more responsibility. Like instead of leaning on, if someone comes to you and says, "Right, I've got a great pizza van, I'll make sure it's sorted for you," and you take it at face value. But I think in the future, you'd be like, "No, we need a nice, warm, fuzzy feeling that this is taken care of."
Contracts,
contracts in there, stuff written down. We'd have to land a couple of decent sponsors to make it even half worth the while.
Financially, it was disaster, wasn't it? I mean,
well, I won't be going on holiday this year.
No, we never to make any money, but to have broke even would have been nice. But we were miles off that in the end. But everybody had a good time. The appetite's there for it if we to do it again. But yeah, like I say, we need to land some big sponsors to do it again next year. But it's got huge potential.
Yeah, well, listen, let's finish on that. Let us know what you think. Was you there? What was your fun moments? And would you want to see it again? Or have you got any advice or comments for how it could be improved? I just want to say a massive thank you to the pod squad, everybody that was involved in volunteering, our wives especially, that have just eat, sleep, shit, and breathe this for 8-9 months, when the first idea came on. The RFL for backing it and for sending Steve and Ryan and the referees there to help out. Broad Street Rugby Club, because they were great, and it was an amazing value. Every band, every musician, every singer. Anybody else that I forgot, Karl? The players and
the players, obviously, the players that bought into it really made it what it was. Great day. And I think, have you ever seen Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, Vinnie Jones, how he ends it.
Yeah.
He just goes, it were emotional.
Yeah. Okay, so until the next episode, take care. That's the final whistle for this week's episode of the Rugby League Outsiders. We hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to follow us on social media and share this podcast with your friends. And as always, if you have a story to tell, a club to plug, or a player that deserves recognition, we want to hear from you. So until next time on the Rugby League Outsiders, take care.